Okay, let's talk about tips for the Insta360 Luna. Now, the first tip I'll give you is to change the bitrate. By default, the Luna is set to a standard bitrate. However, you can change this to a high performance mode. This really allows the image to be, well, a little more sharper. Now, it does cost a little bit more memory, but I'll be honest with you, I think it's worth it in the end. All right, tip number 2 is the color profile. The one everyone recommends, and honestly the one that I personally use, is iLog. It works really well, and honestly it gives you the most flexibility in post. Now the downside is that it hands you this washed out gray looking image while you're shooting. Now there is a way around this. There's a button called color recovery. If you just click that and turn it on, it'll actually bring back all the color back on the monitor only. The file underneath it is still recording completely flat. You're just finally able to see what you're shooting, so now you can expose it properly and make any changes that you need. Now there are 2 other profiles that are worth mentioning. Of course, I'm sure you've seen it. The first is the standard, and I'll be honest with you, if you're not shooting in a professional setting, it's perfectly usable. The colors look good straight out of the camera, and honestly there's nothing wrong with it, and it's something that I do like using. Then there's the middle one, Dolby Vision. Dolby Vision is a flavor of HDR, which stands for high dynamic range, and that's basically how bright the picture is allowed to get. HDR raises the ceiling so that the sun and other bright things can actually be bright without clipping. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't have experience shooting in this format, but Insta360 says that the catch is that the screen that you're watching on has to support HDR, and if it doesn't, your viewer really doesn't get a fallback version, and that's where it can end up looking off. Now, I personally don't have experience shooting in this format, but Insta360 says the catch is that your screen that you're watching on has to support HDR. If it doesn't, your viewer will get a fallback version, and that's where honestly it can end up looking off. Number 3, let's talk gimbal modes. So this is something I did ignore when I got my camera because I was just so excited to use it. The default is set to roll lock, which is ideal for vlogging videos and honestly keeps the frame level. But one thing I noticed was that in this mode you get this sort of wobble effect if you use it outside of vlogging, which is what the other modes are for, and their descriptions on the device do seem to line up. But I did want to point it out because when I got this wobble effect, I didn't know what it was from. I thought something was potentially wrong with my gimbal, but it's doing exactly what I was telling it to do. It was just set up in the wrong mode for what I was shooting in. And so if you're running around doing dolly effects, things like that, make sure to change your gimbal mode to match what you're doing. Number 4, your wireless mic might just work on the Insta360 Luna. I have the DJI mic minis, and I'm sure other mics will work as well if the receiver is USB-C. All you have to do is get your receiver, plug that into the back of the battery extension, and turn on your mic, and then use your wireless mic without needing the Insta360 mic to hopefully save you a few bucks. Okay, number 5 has nothing to do with the camera itself, but maybe you're like me, and maybe you have found it completely impossible to pull out the magnetic filters in your original case, especially on the top section. Now the bottom section, I have no problem. I just come up here and I just flick it upward and I can pull it out, no problem. Now the top section is a different story. I feel like this one is just not even made to come back out. I found the trick for the top filter of pulling it out. Just make sure your thumb is on the bottom right corner of the filter, and then your pointer finger on the top left, and all you have to do is just rotate it and bring out the magnetic filter. And that's the easiest way that I found to be able to pull this thing out. The other way that I was doing it is I was bringing it this way and I was getting my fingernail in there. Honestly, it was just kind of a pain. So that's the easiest way that I found, is to just come in and rotate it out like that, and you can pull out the filter there. Okay, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope these tips help you out with using the Insta360 Luna. If you could please hit that subscribe button, it really does mean a lot to me, and I'll see you all next week.